This controller is almost perfect and it seems like no one likes it, myself included, but at the same time it is very easy to recommend still because it simply has no real competition. This is the GRV6 from Alpha Theta, the company formerly known as Pioneer DJ. It's a 4-channel controller that took some heavy inspiration from the CDJ3000 and the DJM A9 layout. It also has some features that we haven't seen before, and in this video I'm going to go through it and hopefully help you decide if it's the right choice for you. Spoiler, this is a really dope controller. It just has some serious cons that I think everyone should know, and if you're just here for that, then I'm going to leave timestamps below. The first thing that we're going to have a look at is the price. This is $829, and depending on what you value, this is either overpriced or a really good deal. The link, of course, will be in the description, and if you use it, you're helping the channel at no extra cost to you. What you get for the price is this huge joggle that was inspired by the CDJ3000, but it's only about the size. Everything else is different. The CDJ3000 has a mechanical joggle, whereas this one is capacitive. The difference between the two is that with this one, as soon as you touch it, it registers your touch, whereas the one on the CDJ3000, you kind of have to press it down. That's when it registers your touch. It also has this matte design that is the top of the joggle, but also the rest of the controller, which makes it kind of minimal, but at the same time, it's fingerprint city because you touch it once and there's fingerprints everywhere. And then down here, we have the play pause button, which does exactly what you might think. And then above it, we have the Q button. And then usually we have performance pads here on controllers, but this one was inspired by the CDJ3000, so they are up here and they're not RGB. And then we have some different pad modes. So it's hot Q, stems, beat jump, and sampler. And the most interesting one here, I guess, for a lot of people is going to be stems. So if you click it here, nobody does it better. And then below them, we have the looping buttons. And then here on the right, this is where you select DAG 1 or 3. And then on the right DAG, it's going to be 2 and 4, meaning that this has a layered system where if you press the 3, then you're able to control DAG 3. And then on this side, if you press 4, then you're able to control DAG 4 on the mixer. Let me just go back to DAG 1 and 2. And then down here, we have this tiny tempo fader. This is a very easy thing to hate, but at the same time, we've had it for a long time on multiple controllers and we've gotten used to it. Would have been nice to see a bigger tempo fader, especially considering the size of this controller, but at the same time, it's like, nah, you know, it's small, but it's usable. So that was the player section, and now we're gonna have a look at this mixer, which is objectively good. Like I said, it was inspired by the DJM A9. It's a 4-channel mixer, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has the 3-band EQ here, and then above it, there's the trim knob, and then below everything, there is the sound color effects knob. And what's strange here is that there's only one button, on and off. However, if you press shift and you press this button, then you go through the different effects that they have here. So for instance, if I play this track, and then below everything, we have the volume faders. They feel really nice, almost similar to the ones on the FLX10. What doesn't feel similar to the FLX10 though is the crossfader. I mean, it's decent, it's nice, it's not Macville, but you can feel the difference between this one and the one on the FLX10. Now, another thing that is supposed to be cool, but it's really not, is that if you press shift and press this Q button here, then your 3-band EQ now becomes the control for stems. Nobody does it better. Now, the reason why I call this weird is because it is. We already have stems here. I don't think anyone needs to have stems on the 3-band EQ, especially if it's not labeled. I understand that they want this to be like next gen or something like that, but come on, we already have stems here. We didn't need this. No one needs this. I cannot think of a person that would need this much control for stems. Another weird thing about this controller is that the controls for the headphones are not on the mixer itself, but on the bottom here. It's weird, but hey, here. But what's really nice is that there's a total of 3 audio outputs, which makes it pro because it's the headphones, the booth, and the master. And for the master, you do get a TRS connection, which means that you can connect your pro studio monitors. I have my Atom audios connected here via the TRS, and then the booth output here is connected to the top-down camera so that the audio can be synced up. And this is really nice. For instance, if you want to live stream your mixes on TikTok or Instagram, this here is going to go straight to your phone, and then this is going to go to your speakers. That way you can hear what you're playing and your audience can hear what you're playing, and you can control their output independently. And then in addition to everything we just spoke about, there's the beat effect here, which is pretty much identical to the one that you would find in the club. And then above the mixer section, we have this new mixer thing that I think is going to be adopted in their future gear. But essentially, this gear, in addition to spinning, rotating it, and clicking to select, you can now scroll 10 places down and 10 places up by just clicking it up and down. Or if you do left and right, you can enter or exit a folder, which is really nice. And then there's also the Discover button, which if you press it, then a record box suggests some tracks that you can play with the track that is currently playing. Overall, this section is really dope, and I'd really love to see it in their future gear, maybe the CDJ 3000 Nexus or the CDJ 4000, whatever. This would be really nice to see there. Now let's talk about the one thing that makes this controller very unique, and that is the groove circuit. Now, the first thing that you need to know about the groove circuit is that it is record box only. If you're on Serato, then this thing comes with this sticker here that you put on it, and then it just becomes stems effects. So if you're on Serato, unfortunately, you're not going to have the groove circuit. This again is one of those reasons why I say this controller doesn't have any real competition, because Alpha Theta / Pioneer DJ is quite literally the only company that can give you a controller that uses both record box and Serato. The first thing we're going to have a look at on the groove circuit is drum swap. So essentially what this allows you to do is to swap out the drums of the track that you have playing. So if your track is playing and you press this button, it silences the drums of the track playing and then plays a sample that is preloaded here. The Alpha Theta does allow you to download more and you can load your own, but essentially you just swap out the drums of the track that you have playing. And then to the right of it, we have capture. So what this allows you to do is basically capture the drums of a track that you have playing, and then you can play those drums on top of the next track that you have loaded. So as soon as you capture it, it loads it onto bank A or bank B, and then you load the next track, and then it plays the drums of the previous track on this one. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. And then to the right of it, we have drum roll. This one is self-explanatory. It's drum roll at different intervals for the drums only, by the way. Everything here just affects the drums, not the full track. And then if you press shift, these buttons are now drum trance, and it's the trance effect, but for the drums. And then on the far left, there's the gain / volume knob for the drum samples, so you can control how loud or how quiet they are. Now the groove circuit, as cool as it is unfortunately the first item on our list of cons. And number one is that it is a gimmick. There's no way around it. This is a gimmick. Essentially, you're gonna use it once and never touch it again, unless you're showing your friends something cool. But otherwise, this simply doesn't work. Think about it. the stems on Rekordbox are very bad. So if you're going to swap out the drums of a track and leave the melody, which again is going to be bad since it's Rekordbox, and then you're going to layer some high quality drums on it which are pre-recorded, then the whole thing just sounds bad. If you have a track that sounds like this, this is what it sounds like when you remove the drums using Rekordbox. That is not a good sounding stem, and if you're going to layer some high quality drums on it, it's going to sound bad still. Also, the implementation of the whole thing is just bad. So this whole thing relies on some sort of sync feature where the drums are synced to the track. That is nice. However, if you touch the top of the jog wheel and the track pauses, the drums keep playing. And another thing is that when you scratch, or maybe let's say you touch the top of the jog wheel and then you release it, the drums, since they were continuing to play, they then resync to the track. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but basically, if the drums continue when you have the track paused, when you rest your hand on it, when you let it go, it resyncs, so it's kind of janky, like this. I think what they should have done is let the drums follow whatever the track does. So if you reverse it, they also reverse. If you fast forward it, they also, but they don't do that. They just do their own thing. And then finally, there's capture. The idea of it sounds nice, but the implementation is just horrible. So again, remember that Rekordbox has really horrible stems. So if you're going to use this feature to extract some drums from a track, the drums are going to be bad. And then you're going to extract the melody from another track, which is also going to be bad. So you have bad drum stems and you have a bad melody. Well, it's not bad. It's bad sounding. The quality is going to be horrible. And then you play them together. It's bad. And then there's the performance pads. And when you see them for the first time, you're like, oh my God, these were inspired by the CDJ3000. So cool, but you'd be wrong. The CDJ3000 has mechanical jog wheels, meaning that for you to rest your hand on them like this doesn't really cause anything. You'd have to apply some force for them to register your touch. Whereas on this one, as soon as you touch it, then it registers. So when you try and press the hot cues, part of your hand touches the jog wheel and it becomes a mess. And then another thing, like I said, on the CDJ3000, this is just hot cues, but this is a controller, so it has other features. So if you go to beat jump, this now can be your beat jump controls. But if you look at the software, the layout on the screen is such that these buttons are on top of each other, whereas with this one, the CDJ style, they're like this. Do you know how many times I wanted to scroll forward but scrolled backwards by mistake, or vice versa? It's a mistake that you would think is dumb, but I've made it more than twice. It sounds dumb, but it's not, I promise. I think some of the budget that was used to create like the groove circuit and this CDJ style layout could have been used to give us like a bigger tempo fader and kind of create a new gen DDJ 800. If you know the DDJ 800, then you know how good it was. But if you're able to ignore some of the things that I mentioned here, then this is a really dope controller. Especially if you're looking for a 4-channel controller that uses both Rekordbox and Serato, but you don't have the budget for the FLX10, which is really expensive, then this is probably your best option. Of course, like I said, the link will be in the description if you're in the market for this. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.